So, welcome, Robert, to our podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to see both of you again after our adventures in Norway.
And last we spoke when you were in Norway, you weren't really sure if you would ever recover. So, how has your recovery been?
Interesting that you should ask because there was a souvenir from my travel that I brought back with me that I didn't anticipate, and that was COVID.
Oh no.
So, as soon as I got back, about one day later, I started the symptoms, and after that, I felt like I got hit by a truck.
Oh man, that's bad.
But I'm fully recovered now. My memories of my time in Norway helped me get through that. And I'm wearing my Kongsberg Jazz Festival shirt in honor
Wow, that's nice.
of our interview today.
Yeah. What was your anticipation going into the You went to the two of the concert, didn't you?
Yeah, Kongsberg and Sandefjord.
What was your feeling before going into it? What were you thinking of what might be the feeling of it?
Excitement, of course. Just after listening to her since 2014, I knew that everything was on the table and was up for hearing anything that she was going to have here. I have attended concerts in my life where I was at concerts with tremendous artists. And you could tell during those concerts that you were in the presence of greatness. And when I was at both of Angelina's concerts, I had that same feeling. I felt like I was in the presence of greatness. And it, as I had said to Ellen before, I kid you not, it was an out of body experience. It felt just like that. Being in the presence of greatness, I think, contributed.
Yeah. So you discovered her as early as 2014, did you?
I was surfing through YouTube 2014 and came across a little video from Norway's Got Talent, Gloomy Sunday, and it just totally blew me away. And even at that time, I was probably listened to her 20 or 30 times in a row, and I couldn't believe it. I'm a former music educator, performing musician, mostly jazz. And hearing her on that first time it was mind altering how anybody that age could sing like that. And so that was my first exposure.
So, Robert, your experience with Angelina Jordan, first and foremost, you are blown away. And secondly, you are a music teacher. So, you have the gut reaction first, and then you have the knowledge second, right?
I kind of view my interaction with Angelina as it's kind of a blessing and a curse. A blessing in the sense of being a musician, understanding what she's doing. It's a blessing because I realize that most people don't understand from a musical perspective exactly what she does. I'm not sure that I even understand exactly what she does, but at least I have a degree of understanding of the amazement that is Angelina. But it's also a curse because I would love to have the opportunity to listen to her as most other people listen to her, just for the emotion and not having the knowledge or understanding I do. Because don't get me wrong, she grabs me by the heart and soul just like she does everybody else, but it's just different when you know something of what she's doing.
And could you describe that to someone that's not as knowledgeable as you in music?
I've always felt that this is something, why she makes people feel the way she does is that I feel that when she was born, and even before she was born, she struck the physiological jackpot for being a singer. Every structure that contributes to a person's voice that she had, she just hit the jackpot with it. Her vocal folds, vocal cords, the larynx, the pharynx, her broad facial structure, her sinus cavities, just everything is a perfect storm for the perfect singer. And even though that's looking at things technically, it's what is part of what people are experiencing and what they feel. And also along the physiological lines too, her ears. I've always wondered whether she has absolute pitch, which some people call perfect pitch, but the common term now is absolute pitch. And I've never really been able to confirm it in any communications at all. But if she doesn't have it, she has unbelievable relative pitch, which means if she can latch on to a note, then the relativity of all other notes is there for her. And so if she has absolute pitch, perfect. But if she doesn't, that doesn't matter because her relative pitch is just how it works. Also with her ears, as people have mentioned, I'm sure both of you have mentioned, that she's able to perceive the most minute details of music. And she has picked up things from vocalists and instrumentalists all through her life so far. That's one thing about Ella Fitzgerald. That's why Ella Fitzgerald is such an amazing jazz singer, is that everything she picked up from instrumentalists around her, she incorporated into her voice. And that's another thing with Angelina's ears, is that people talk about her runs or her melismas or her improvisation. And the thing is that she does that so musically. In other words, when she does the runs, they're within the chord structure of what she's singing at that point. There are a lot of vocal gymnasts out there that they try to show off, but it's not musical at all because it doesn't fit the chord structure of what they're singing. But Angelina does it. Whitney Houston had that. Mariah Carey has that, although I think she uses it too much. But there are a lot of great singers that do have the ability to sing like an instrumentalist would play within chord structures. And I'm sure Angelina doesn't sit there thinking this is a G7 going to a C9, sharp 5, things like that, thinking music theory. But it's just instinctual for her based on what she's done over a whole life.
Robert, let me ask you a question. If you were not a music teacher and you did not understand all of this, would you be enjoying Angelina more than you do?
I hope that I would. I don't know that for sure. Like I said, even with what I do know or do understand, she gets to me just like she gets to everybody else. And that's another one of the physiological things, is her brain. Obviously, we all know she's extremely intelligent, but her thinking ability, the experiences that she's had in her life that she has, that are just things that touch all of us, whether we know what she's doing or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Let's get specific, Robert. When she gets to you, why don't you elaborate on what that means? How does she get to you, and how does that make you feel?
We all hear so many people saying that she makes me emotional, and it's relative to crying. And that happens with me as well. But not as many people talk about the joy or the excitement or just the sheer pleasure of Valerie is not going to make you cry. It just makes you happy. Mercy's not going to make you cry. It makes you happy.
Yeah.
I think one of the happiest things I've ever heard from her is when she did When You're Smiling, the video. And I just felt sheer joy whenever I watched that. But yeah, crying is a big part of it. I cried when I first heard her on that first video. When she sings, or the Allsång på gränsen performance of What a Difference a Day Makes, I cry every time I listen to her, every time.
Yeah. What you said, Robert, is really interesting, because crying is one thing and then joy is another thing. But what is not said is, hey, how many other emotions does she bring out in you and me and Pontus and everyone else? I think it would be dozens and dozens of different emotions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that is something which we would like more people to come onto our podcast and discuss the full range of emotions that people are experiencing. So crying is one thing. Sometimes we cry out of pure beauty. Sometimes we cry out of pure joy. And some people cry because they're comforted by it. That is another direction of what she does. And I think we could have dozens and dozens of different nuances of how people experience emotionally.
With Suspicious Minds, every time I listen to it, when it starts, I know it's coming. I know those first notes that she sings are coming. But every time she sings them, I just break down and cry because it's so emotional the way she delivers those lines.
Yeah. Speaking for myself, before I started listening to Angelina, I discovered her in the summertime 2020. And before that, I didn't get emotional every day. And I wasn't even listening to music every day. Listening to Angelina during these 2 years has really opened up the whole world to me, both emotionally and musically, because I've learned so much from Angelina to the point that I'm actually thinking about going and taking singing lessons myself, which is unheard of. I'm not a musical person myself, but that's what she does to it. I think the word is inspirational. It's, for me, it's just so, I get so inspired by what she is able to do and the feelings she awakes in me, that I get pushed to do something, create a YouTube channel, start singing. I don't know what's next, but being a better person also. So that's a whole different level of artistry, I think, than just being a great singer.
I have a very personal connection with Angelina too. I was debating whether I wanted to talk about this, but I do want to talk about it. And I've dealt with bipolar disorder and depression most of my adult life, and it has taken me to some very dark places. And I can honestly say that Angelina has saved my life more than once. To anybody that's listening here, if you struggle with depression, bipolar disorder, and you become suicidal, please seek help. People are there to help you. Professionals, family, friends, they're here to help you. And make sure that Angelina Jordan is part of your therapy and your recovery.
We have discussed the term music as medicine before, and we think that's a really important term and it's underrated. And we know people in the medical field who recommend Angelina Jordan to their patients. But what you're describing, Robert, is really important. It's I think I have to use the word, it's the sanctity of one's emotional world. And I think this is where Angelina Jordan, she doesn't have a PhD in psychology, but in a way, it's as good as, because what she does is she helps us emotionally by what she is able to produce emotionally. And on a very deep level, beyond words, it's almost a revelation to us. On one level, we say, how can a little child do this musically? But on another level, we say, how can a little child do this to us emotionally?
Yeah, I was not diagnosed, but I was feeling very low when I first stumbled across the Bohemian Rhapsody performance that she did on America's Got Talent. And that really lifted me up, as I have never experienced such a dramatic change in myself ever, actually. The kind of creativity, the kind of comfort is probably a good word, because when I listen to her, it's just a sense of amazement at how great life can be. A little bit of what you were talking about earlier with the physicality of it. everything coming together. And it's almost, I'm not a religious man, but it's almost like a miracle that somebody can be this good and make these kind of connections to other people. I know I felt that connection that first time. I felt that there was something really special about this person, and that this was something I had to make other people aware of.
Not unlike Mozart. Same type of thing. He was the Angelina Jordan of his day.
We've had someone come on and say that one of the reasons he cries is because Angelina Jordan is a thing of beauty. And I think that's true. But the word that should come in front of the word beauty is sustained beauty. That the beauty is something that we experience over and over again. You can have a beautiful wife, but after 5 years and 20 years and 50 years, is she still beautiful? But when beauty is sustained, that is almost a unique experience for most people.
And she's already proven that. She's sustaining into the old age of 16. Can we only imagine what it's going to be like 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, I know. You used two words together, Robert, which I've never heard used before, and I really like. You said physiological jackpot, and I think that's a really good combination of words. The two words which I like putting together when I think of Angelina Jordan, emotional sophistication, because her evolvement, as people talk of her as an empath, someone who experiences great, but her emotional nuances that she experiences and her sophistication and how she communicates that emotion is part of the magic of what Angelina Jordan does.
I think of her also like Audrey Hepburn, class, professional, talent, humanitarian. I view her maybe as the Audrey Hepburn of the 21st century.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's like watching a flower open, and we're so curious as to how she will evolve in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years. And we want to have a time machine because we're almost impatient to see what colors are in the rainbow that we've never seen before.
Yes, it's almost like we're kids at the Christmas morning wanting to open up the packages all at once. That's what I feel.
Another thing I was thinking in terms of the physiological jackpot is her stature, 6 feet plus, and just an imposing figure, but such a positive imposing figure. And that is something that I think will carry her well through life.
Yeah, and with that beehive, she's even taller. That video with Suspicious Minds, I think it's brilliant of her. I guess it's like a team effort, of course, but putting together that in that location with the chandeliers, the mirrors, and the leather suit, the beehive, the red guitar, people speculating that it's the actual guitar that Elvis used to play on, but I'm not so sure. I think it's a replica. But the jumpsuit that the pianist, Christy, also reminiscent of that time. And so everything it's being packaged really effective. And then, as you say, that first few seconds when she opens her mouth, you can't really prepare, just like you said, what's coming, but still it hits you.
After I think it was Million Miles came out, I sent an Instagram message to Rob Christie, and I said, let's see, Frank Sinatra had Bill Miller, Tony Bennett had Ralph Sharon, and Angelina Jordan has Rob Christie. Sounds about right.
That's
and
cool.
He replied and said that Bill Miller and Ralph Sharon were two of his heroes as he was growing up, learning to play piano and everything. He says, I'm nowhere near those two. He pretty much is. And then after Suspicious Minds came out, I sent him an Instagram message and I said, did you ever think before Angelina Jordan came along what you would have fallen into. And I said, it looks like you're probably going to have an accompanying gig for the next 20, 30, or 40 years.
Yeah, all the musicians working with her, they must, I don't know what goes through their minds, especially the first years when she came onto the scene and people weren't expecting that.
If you look at some of the videos, in a couple of those, I'm standing right next to Egil Carlson and he's holding his son. And there's a video where he's holding his daughter and Sarah is standing next to him holding his son. And I didn't realize that until I saw the reaction videos that I was standing next to Egil Carlson. I thought, oh my goodness. But I did have a chance to talk to Sarah at both of the concerts. And I also had a chance to talk to Michael at the Papier concert because he was in front eyeing the crowd. And that was something.
Yeah. I was speaking to Sarah also, and she came across as a really humble person. She was thanking everybody standing in line. She couldn't believe it. So many people had shown up to the concert. And I was just, what? I mean, this should be 10 times bigger. But she's very down to earth and just wanted to make sure everyone was going to have a good time, and really sweet person.
I'm not sure that people like Sarah and Michael are aware of how many people are that devoted and that aware of the extreme talents of Angelina. They just think that Angelina Jordan wants to sing and she's successful and she can have a career. But they may not even realize themselves the impact, how Angelina Jordan affects people. I wonder, Angelina Jordan had referred to that, but when she refers to it at 8 or 9 years old, I think it's different than if she at 16 or even her mother or uncle are aware of the profound emotional effect that Angelina Jordan has.
I think you're probably correct, but on the other hand, there are so many people in their entourage and just people around them. I'm not sure that they couldn't know that, because I'm sure people are telling them, do you realize the effect that you have on people, or how many people adore you? One question I was going to ask the two of you, have you made any efforts to try to get her on the podcast?
I also cannot walk on water.
Good answer.
Pontus was speaking to Sarah, and Pontus said, oh, by the way, we would love to interview Angelina. And Sarah very diplomatically said, our Angelina Jordan is very sensitive.
Yeah, she didn't really said it with those words, but I just got a sense of it that she doesn't really want to do those kind of interviews. Is what I got from Sarah's answer. I was starstruck. I can't remember exact words she said, but yeah.
Well, maybe Angelina Jordan has to grow into her viewing self.
She is 16. When she sings, she's like ageless. I mean, you can't tell what age she is when she sings. But when she gives a few interviews, you can see somewhere there's a 16-year-old girl there and shining through, which is fine. That's the way it should be. And that's the way Sarah and her family always wanted it to be. Like she was going to have a normal childhood, as normal as you can get. And that's why everybody is on their toes or wanting to open the gift as soon as possible, because the family is holding back because they don't want to release this too soon. But once her album is out, it's going to take off.
I wonder whether she has actually graduated from high school at this point, or whether she has another year.
I would think another year, maybe even 2 years, because if she's only 16 and a half now, a lot of people graduate high school when they're 18. It's certainly 1 year and maybe even two. But I don't know when they're going to let the genie out of the bottle.
I spoke with somebody at Sandefjord, and I posed that question, and he said she may still be in high school. I said, yeah, but she's probably the teacher. Especially if she goes to a performing arts high school, she's probably the teacher and not the student.
Yeah.
If she did a music class in high school, I wonder if she would make the same face that she did of disapproval when she was in preschool when she hears all the music around her.
If she hasn't graduated yet, I would like to be the lucky guy that gets to take her to the prom.
Yeah, that would be something. I think she's really bright and good at school. I think she might take a year.
A gap year.
I think so, because she has been tutored by private teachers from time to time again in the past, and I think she's pretty bright when it comes to school. But I don't know her attitude towards school, because she did the song, her version of the Amy Winehouse Rehab. She did. They made me go to school, but I said
no, no, no. Yes, I've been there, but when I come back, you know, no, no.
And that lyric, it really says something. They try to teach me things, but they can't teach me things that I can learn from being with my family and going around the world.
For her, music is such a liberating experience. And I think maybe school and homework must be such a confining experience, the opposite of liberating. There was a video that Botti took around her house. And first he went into the bedroom of Juliet, and she pointed next door to Angelina's bedroom. And he opened the door, and Angelina Jordan was sitting there reading a book. And Angelina gave a little bit of a frown, as if to say, oh, I'm not really wanting to read this book.
Yeah. I remember that scene. And I think one of the things people are speculating about is there an acting future ahead of her? Is that one of her ambitions to go into? We see this with the videos. I'm thinking mostly of her Seventh Heaven video, which is there's acting in it. And people said that there's a new Amy Winehouse movie coming out, and they should have taken Angelina as the part, but of course she's too young and still. And
I'm glad you brought up that Amy Winehouse movie, Pontus, because when I first saw that, people were saying, oh, Angelina needs a star in that, or she at least needs to sing all the songs. I was thinking, maybe it's best if she just not be associated with that at all, because she's pigeonholed enough with Amy Winehouse as it is, that to go that route and to go that big, I'm not sure that would be in her best interest. But that's not up to me.
But one thing I would like her to do is the next Bond movie theme, to record that. That would be awesome. So it could happen.
You probably saw the Britpops reactors when they were talking about her singing a Bond theme, and they need to have her sing the Bond theme, but they first have to find a new Bond.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig's not going to be Bond.
No. Okay.
Well, Robert, thank you very much. And it's the ongoing saga of Angelina Jordan. And long may it last, and this tree will bear a lot of fruit.
And I want to especially thank you, Robert, for being open and giving us the opportunity to look into the thing about when you're not feeling very well psychologically, how that can really affect you in a way. I know my father was very depressed and also was suicidal at times. And so I know people out there are struggling. You don't have to struggle alone. There are people out there that can help.
Absolutely.
So that's a very important message to get across.
Well, hopefully what I said will get to at least one person. That'll help.
I think we'll get to a lot of people, Robert, because someone may not have the same problem, same symptoms you have, but almost everyone has something which drags them down and which makes them unhappy. Can universalize your approach. They can apply it in many different ways to many different types of problems.
I want to thank both of you two for all you do for Angelina and the Angels, your podcasts, everything that you've done over the years has been, as Adam Strawn says, top tier.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
We take requests nowadays, I think, for the ending of the podcast. Is there some favorite song that you might want?
Let me go back to my favorite list of 200 songs. And
Exactly.
one of the early ones that stays with me all the time is Every Time We Say Goodbye. When I was in Oslo, I stayed at the Karl Johan Hotel in Oslo. And I wanted so much to go to TV2 and go up on the roof and take some pictures there where that video was made. But I just never got around to doing it. And that is one that makes me cry, partly because I cry when Ella Fitzgerald sang it, and the emotion that she brought at 10 years old to that song, just with Tommy Christiansen on guitar on the roof alone. I can't say that's my favorite, but it's probably the one that tugs to my heart the most.
Yeah. Let's play that.
Okay, yeah, consider it done.
Thank you both, guys.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Every time we say goodbye, I die a little. Every time we say goodbye, I wonder why you little. Why the goods above me, who must be in the know? Think so little of me, they allow you to go. When you're near, there's such an air of spring about it. I can hear a lark somewhere begin to sing about it. There's no love song finer, but how strange the change from major to minor. Every time we say goodbye. When you're near, there's such an air of spring about it. I can hear a lark somewhere begin to sing about it. There's no love song finer, but how strange the change from major to minor. Every time we say goodbye.